Hi guys, a couple of you asked to see my woodshop where I work when I'm here, so here goes. This is my shop. It's a two-car garage, about 20 by 20 feet, so not big but not small, I guess. A little bit nicer than my last shop, a lot smaller than my shop before that. But I'll give you the rundown. So behind you, I guess where the camera's pointed, we have my jointer. So it's pretty big. It's a 1905 American machine and motor company from Rochester, New York, and it weighs about a ton. It's a little bit bigger than the one at school. And it runs like a tank. Behind that we have drills, routers, charging stuff. Above that I have a welder. And then over here I have three-phase power. So standard homes don't have three-phase power. They are equipped with two phases. So this guy attaches to that motor back there. It says Generac. And that motor is a 10 horsepower motor. And it takes power in from two phases. And it generates a third phase. So motors can be generators if they're not doing anything. So all it's doing is spinning. And it creates three phases, and then that way my jointer, which is a three-phase machine, can run on standard household power. My edge sander over there is also three-phase, and my table saw is also three-phase. Three-phase machinery is nice because it's cheap, because most homeowners can't use it unless they get a converter, which aren't expensive, but people don't think about it. Next up, we have my favorite table saw, or saw in general. This is a Hammond trim saw. This came out of a printing press factory back when printing stuff was actually cut via, not cut, but back when printing was actually printed with big stamps. They would cut out all the pieces for the stamps with this guy. It has this finger. And if we look, I can bring this guy all the way in. And it will move around with my dial. It's a little finicky, it's kind of old. But this scale is in points and picas, not inches. So when you type in 12-point font, some guy on the saw back in the day used to set it to 12 points, which would be about there, and they'd cut out pieces. So that's that guy. And the nice thing is, all the scraps fall into the bin at the bottom via this handy dandy chute, which I think you saw in the last video. Moving on, I have my planer. It's a 13-inch planer, a little smaller than the one at school, but it works. And then I have a big cluster of machines over here. We have bandsaw, same one as at school, I guess. And then a sander, also the same as at school, just much older. I found that guy in a dump. It was completely rusted, but the motor somehow worked. And I took it home, and I brought the tables to a machinist to get flattened. And it's been a really good sander ever since. I have one of my drill presses, so this is the only one that's in here. The other one is in my basement with my metalworking equipment. It's variable speed, which is nice. You turn it on, you change the dial. And it changes speed. Come around the back. I have a grinder and my lathe for turning. Just enough room to sneak in here and get some work done, I guess. I don't like putting a lathe against a wall the other way because oftentimes you'll have to reach around in the back with a tool if you're working on a bowl, and if you got a wall there, that's not fun. In my last shop, I had this guy against a wall, and it was not fun. Moving on. Just tool storage all under the bench. More tool storage. I'll probably move that one of these days. Random storage. There's a little bump out in the garage to give me an extra 3.5 feet, which I use to store random stuff. This is kind of cool, I think. I have my edge sander on a really big Lazy Susan, so I can get to both sides. So this side is partially curved. There's a round, and then we have the flat side there, so I can get to all three sides while not taking up any extra space, which I like. Over there is my chop saw with more storage. Got a bunch of drawer slides down here. So this cabinet will finally be finished out with a ton of drawers one of these days. And we can finish off with my table saw. So this is the same size as the ones at school. It's a 10-inch table saw. That means our blade is 10 inches. It's a Powermatic, like that big yellow bandsaw that we have at school. It's probably a little older. It's from the 80s, I think, right when they were switching from green to yellow. So it's kind of a unique saw because it has some green parts and some yellow parts. It was probably one of the last green ones to come off, well, partially green ones to come off the line. And then I added, let's talk about our safety paddle switch at school. So I added this before I started working at school, and all it does is it has that little thing that pushes the stop button. So that way, if I'm working, I have to really, concentrate on pressing start, and when I'm done, I just bump the off switch, and she turns off. And then over here, I have my router table. So similar to how we have it at school, where I have the router table near the table saw, here I cut the hole in the top, and this way my router goes right there, and then it's hooked up. I did this just recently, so I still have to put the switch plate on to that switch over there. So I can turn it on and off, nice and easy. Flip the switch. So that switch is hooked up to that outlet. So that makes life nice and easy for doing routing projects. I have my clamp wall, which I'm missing a lot of clamps on it right now because I'm doing some work in my basement. And then I'm making some toy cars. And I'm still working on those nightstands. And I got a couple other projects going. I made one of those squirrel picnic tables. These are routed using a template. So this gets taped on with double-sided tape, and then I can come over to my router table and we route the shape out. So that way they all come out the same. And if the West Orange Farmers Market still happens this year, I will be prepared. So that is my wood shop. Not super big or fancy, but certainly more than enough for me. I have the starts of a little metal shop in my basement. I was really bringing all the machines down finally when this whole shutdown started, so I'll finish that after the shutdown, I guess. But for now, I have a pretty nice setup here. My compressor, I can show you my compressor. There's a loft up there, so where that blue cord is, let's see, blue cord, I can pull that down. There's a ladder that comes down and I can get up to the loft, which is where wood storage and extra tools and stuff. And my compressor, that's up there. It pipes down. And I have my air on a reel, so I can pull it down when I need it. And I got nice air. And then I have an air cleaner over in the corner because keeping your lungs clean is important. So I've been droning on for, I guess, too long. I'm hopefully going to put up wood storage on this back wall at some point. Lumber racks like we have at school, and then this part of the wall, I have no idea. I'm sure that I will put some sort of storage on there. And then over there is heat and air conditioning, which I didn't have last summer. I'm very excited for some air conditioning this summer because I guess more than ever will be spending lots and lots and lots of time in here. All right, so I guess tell me if you have any questions or anything else. Here's my workbench. It's also the outfeed table. I built this when I was in high school in Mr. Warbitz's woodworking shop, which is my woodworking shop now. So it's fairly terrible as far as workbenches go, but it has served me well for many, 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 many years. One of these days I'll get around to replacing it with a proper bench with a nice thick top. But this works. What I do like doing with it, though, is I have all these holes in it, and then these guys, this is a hold down. Let's see. Let's see if I can get you so you can see. Alright, so here's a hold down. And let's say I wanted to hold something in place. I have a couple of these guys. I can lift it up and then give it a couple whacks. And now we are stuck. So I'm moving the whole bench. And for a long piece like this, I can use a second, or there's a million different ways to use a hold down. So that's how we get around clamping down to the table. And this way I can do it anywhere I have one of these holes. And when I'm done, just whack the back. And it pops right out. And I'm done. And I store them right in there. There's another one down here, which I guess I can add. And there's your hold downs. So that is a really, really nice, quick way to hold things down to a workbench. All right, I've been going on too long. Again, I hope you guys are having a great week so far and have started coming up with some really good ideas for your recycling project. Back here, I have a little bit of cardboard. I'm going to try to do some with you guys. And hopefully we'll have some fun. All right, talk to you later. Bye.